If you don't know, my name is Casey Taylor, and I'm a customer training specialist here at JobTread. And I want to welcome you to our JobTread Pro Spotlight webinar here today. And essentially, if you don't know, and if this is your first time, what our Pro Spotlights are our opportunities to introduce you to some of our incredible users who are doing some pretty special things with JobTread or in the JobTread sphere, who also presented at one of our breakout sessions at this year's Connect Conference 2025. And they are also fellow JobTread users. And so we've asked them to come back and to share wisdom to those who might not have been able to make it to the Connect Conference, or some of those who were able to, but really want to go back and review some of the information that they shared, or maybe just didn't get to go to their session because there was so much good information being shared across different sessions. So we've asked these two gentlemen, who I will introduce you to here in just a second, to come back and share. And I think you're going to find this to be really informative and really helpful today, just speaking with them already and having gotten a chance to attend their presentation my first week here at JobTread. It was really, really killer information, and really made me excited to jump in and kind of see how, what they were doing was, being utilized. And so one of the things that I like to tell people about the JobTread community more broadly, and what makes something like our Pro Spotlight really great, is that it just highlights the community that we have here at JobTread and the willingness to share what we've learned, some of the integrations, automations, some of the features that we have, and how we're leveraging it to do things that are meaningful for you. Because again, we're a software company, but we're not software people hawking to construction people. We are construction people who are trying to build a software to help construction people. And so this community and the willingness to share and help one another, our CEO says, he actually talked about it at our Connect conference, that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so that's really what the Pro Spotlights are meant to do, is to help our users help each other. And so we want to welcome you here to our Pro Spotlight. Let me give you a little bit of an idea of who will be presenting today. So we have these two gentlemen, Elliott Wittstruck and Dominic Eidson. Elliott is the owner of Build with Love out of Spring Hill, Tennessee, and Dominic is the owner of Eidson Builders out of Pflugerville here in Texas. And actually, just to give a little bit of throw a shout out to Eric's podcast that he does, Elliott was actually a guest on Builder Stories episode 23, if you're interested. I'm sorry, 32. I got that backwards for the dyslexic in the room. And his title was From Teacher to Lifelong Student. And so I will put the link up in the chat if you guys are interested in going back and reviewing that at your leisure. You can do so. But both of these gentlemen, Elliott and Dominic, have been with us since around 2023. We're excited to have them as a part of the JobTread family, but we're also excited for them to present to you today. And before they do, let me just go ahead and give you some ground rules for how this is all going to work. If you haven't been here before, just a reminder, if you have. So we have two different chat boxes. We have the webinar chat, and we also have the Q&A section. The web chat's going to be more of a, like, if you have a comment, you have something you want to throw out there, you can talk amongst yourselves there in the webinar chat. But if you have questions for Elliott or Dominic, or more broadly questions you think that they could help you answer, go ahead and ask those in the Q&A section. Again, that's a different section of the Zoom chat. And then I will either answer your question if it's a more general question that maybe I could help them not have to answer later. But if there's specific questions, what I'll do is I'll freeze those and we'll hold those for the end for our Q&A section, where we'll just have them kind of rapid fire answer those questions and show you guys around. So so that's what we're going to do. Pop the questions into the Q&A, make comments in the webinar chat. And their presentation today is going to be unlocking JobTread's full potential, kind of a beginner's guide to automation and integration. So everybody in the chat, give a warm welcome, a JobTread welcome to our presenters today, Elliott Wittstruck and Dominic Eidson. Hand it over to you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having us. I want to reiterate what Casey said. We are construction people first. Built with Love is a remodeling company, we do work in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and everything that we're showing you today are just automations that I've needed in my company or that Dominic has needed in his company. We're construction first, tech second. That tech actually turned into a bunch of stuff after the Connect conference. We presented this at the Connect conference, and Eric kind of gave us the the support and the push to, hey, do this and help the community and make it an official thing. So we do have our DataX platform, which has a bunch of automations built in it. But we're super excited to rehash this conference and this not conference, what is this called? A speaker session, the Pro Spotlight with you guys. That's a little bit about me. Dominic, you want to chime in and say some stuff?
Yes, I'm owner of Eidson Builders, like Casey said, out of Pflugerville, Texas. We're just outside of Austin. Same thing like Elliott. All the automations that I have are automations that I built because I'm trying to help run my company, make it grow without taking more of my time so I can focus on customers and bids and, all of the things that a computer can't quite do for you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going through this presentation again as well. It's been a little while, but here we go.
We've got some new stuff and we'll go through a lot. So I would just say take notes, come back to the recording. We're gonna go through a lot. But if you hang on to the end, we've got a bunch of cool stuff and hopefully you walk away with a few ideas. At Connect 25, there was an automation lab where you could come and talk to the JobTread dev team or come out and hang with us. It was me, Dominic, and Peter were sitting there, and a bunch of other smart people sitting in there helping other fellow JobTread users build out automations or integrations and just talk through a bunch of ideas. Since the conference, there have been Facebook group chats for Zapier and the API. Come and hang out in there. We're in there, a bunch of other, as Greg said in the chat earlier, super nerds, a bunch of other JobTread super nerds in there just helping try to build JobTread into something that is a little bit more efficient for you. Who is this for? Put it in the chat, put some heart emojis, put some clapping emojis. If you believe JobTread is the best project management tool out there, we believe that. That's why we've been users for 2 going on 3 years now. We also love how customizable JobTread is. It also makes it really tough sometimes because it's so much, but ultimately we love how customizable it is and it allows us to do what we're going to show and present today. And then put some more emojis if you want to learn how to make JobTread work for you even while you sleep. That's kind of a saying that we talk about, make your money work for you when you're talking about investments and retirement. Let's make JobTread work for us even while we sleep. So that's what we'll talk about today. This is an advanced JobTread session. The title says beginner, but that's because we're talking about the beginning of automation. This is an advanced JobTread topic, and we're going to skip over the basics of JobTread and just talk about the advanced JobTread usage of automations and integrations. We got 39 slides, 20 automations, a Q&A in only 60 minutes, now only 50 minutes. Let's go. So the first goal is to get your brains turning with a ton of new ideas. Just a warning, we're going to show examples of all levels, super beginning, basic, intermediate, and advanced. If we go way over your head, don't worry, we'll come back eventually down to earth. But if you weren't blown away in this session, feel free to Facebook message, reach out, and we'll talk about stuff we can't talk about publicly because it's just so crazy. There'd be too much mind-blowingness. If you don't get your mind blown, just reach out privately and we'll share some of that crazy stuff. We're going to show you what to automate. We're going to show you how to automate, and then we're going to briefly touch on the API. We're going to do less API talk today than we did at the session. But what to automate and how to automate. Two very important things. Let's jump in. Automation 1. When the proposal is approved. Proposal, it could be any type of document. You could replace the word proposal with any type of document. But we're going to say when the proposal is approved, we're going to update a custom field. Very basic automation that is very, very strong. Automation 2. When a web form is filled out, any form, it could be the JobTread web form, it could be a Jot form, it could be a Google form. We're going to add a task to the schedule. We're going to title that task follow-up, and then going to assign Dominic to that task. I have an asterisk there to assign Dominic. In Zapier, you have to find the membership ID. And so that's another step in Zapier you need to do. Find the membership ID, use that ID to assign the user, and then create the task. Automation number 3. When a job is finished, you can do this several different ways. You can use a custom field. that switches to closed or done or warranty or closeout. You can even use the JobTread built-in close job. When that job is finished, we're going to send a survey to the customer. When the survey is completed, if the rating is greater than 4 stars, we're going to ask that client for a review. That's a very good automation. There are services out there that do that for you, but if you wanted to build a simple automation built into your JobTread for that, that's kind of the workflow that you would go through. Automation 4, we're flying through these. When a job status set to active, goes back to the last trigger we talked about. You can use document status when a proposal is assigned. The job inside of JobTread is technically marked as approved, or we have a pending job. You can use custom fields if you're using like a design workflow or a lead workflow or a job production workflow. You can use different statuses, but we're saying when the job status is set to active, we're going to import a very specific task template. So let's say when the job status goes from design to production, we're going to import a production task template and to-do template into the job. The task template name is called job sequence. You'll need the template ID. There's a few different ways to find the template ID when you're importing templates like this. One is to look up in the URL. So it might say cost. So for like cost group templates, it'll say app.jobtread.com, blah, 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 /cost group /jumble of numbers. And that's the ID for that cost group template. If you don't want to look up there, or that gets a little weird, you could download any of the templates and you look in the first column in the CSV file, and that is your template ID. So you need that template ID in order to import it into a job. So those are the first 4 automations. Let's talk about how JobTread works a little bit. We don't want to go too deep into all these automation ideas if your workflow inside of JobTread isn't optimum or isn't ideal. So we want to encourage everyone inside of JobTread to use jobs as your leads. As you see here, the basic JobTread workflow is customer as the first node, and then we can branch off to multiple locations. And then a location is a node, and the location can have multiple jobs. So we really want to use the job level as your lead. Why, you might ask? A lot of people like to use the customer as the lead. Well, if we're using the customer as the lead and we're tracking our leads as cold, needs estimate, 1, close. Let's just say we have some status like that on the customer as a lead. If we closed Miss Susie as a customer because she didn't go with the bathroom the first time, when she comes back, we have to change that status from closed back to cold or back to open. Whereas if Miss Susie as a customer had her location and the location had a job 1 as a bathroom and they closed that, and then she comes back for job 2 for a kitchen or a second bathroom, and we use the jobs as leads, we're able to track that data better. And this kind of gets off automation a little bit, but just the JobTread workflow, that's how it was just designed. So let's not try to use it in ways that it wasn't. Dominic, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I have used it in ways it wasn't supposed to be, but I think as far as construction management goes, using it the way JobTread had intended makes everything else work better. Like I have examples of customers, I occasionally am a trade partner of a colleague of mine, and if I was tracking all of his work like the way you shouldn't do it, then I'd constantly be updating him as a customer. But as it is, I just have him as one customer, and I've got eight different jobs in there for each of the projects that we've been, basically his sub on. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend using it the way that JobTread wants you to use it.
And it makes building automations easier.
Yeah.
It all comes back full circle. Custom fields. These are extra data points that we can use on different nodes inside of JobTread. We can put custom fields on the customer, on the locations, on the jobs, and a few other places. And custom fields can be used in 2 ways. We'll talk about it being used in 2 ways. The first is extra data. Think of like Zestimate data, property value, property info, last purchase, purchase price. We're storing data. You could even do pet name, children name, anniversaries, hobbies, lockbox codes, things like that. That's storing extra data. The second way to use custom fields is state management. You got a definition here. State management is the process of tracking and updating the current data or state, ensuring that the data is reflected consistently. State management is important when we're doing our automation workflows. Let's say we're tracking lead flow, going back to what we just talked about with the JobTread workflow. If we're tracking lead flow, we want to track whether the lead is in cold, needs a phone call, has a phone call, needs an estimate sent, in communication still, approved, decline. Those are different states. We're storing that state management of the lead. You can do state management, material status, follow up, and plenty other things like that. We use custom fields as triggers a lot in our automations, either storing data as a trigger or state change as a trigger. Different types of automation software. Zapier has a native JobTread integration, meaning you don't have to build the connection between JobTread and Zapier. You just start building automations. It's the kind of industry leader in automation right now. I mentioned two more, Make.com and Active Pieces. I mentioned them because they have really good free tiers, but that JobTread to those software, that connection isn't made. So you have to use webhooks and build those connections yourself before you start building automations. So it would take more time to get up and running, but they do have good free tiers. That's why they're on the list. And then for those other super nerds out there, N8N is great for advanced users. Takes a lot of coding, takes a lot of building, and like you have to build stuff before the automation. Inside the automation, you're building more stuff. Very complex workflows. But if you need the super complex workflow or the complexity in what you're trying to do, N8N is a great choice, but it's not for most people. Dominic, do you use N8N?
I don't. I use a couple of custom stuff that we've built, but I haven't played around with any. And it's the bar to entry is pretty high, even for a quote unquote super nerd like me.
Yeah, it's pretty high. I tried it and then quit using it because the bar was so high. Now we'll build automations on our own servers or we'll run it in Zapier. That's
Yep.
kind of what me and Dominic are doing. Webhooks. So we're almost back to the automations, but the last thing we need to talk about are webhooks, and that's the sending of data to and from different pieces of software. It's event-driven communication method that automatically sends data between applications. It's like when you buy something and get a receipt. Let's say you're buying some 2x4s and a Gatorade from Home Depot. The receipt is the webhook data. The receipt says, hey, we got 3 2x4s and a Gatorade. And then you can tell the receipt where to go. So JobTread sends out receipts for everything that happens. So if a job is updated, it's sending a webhook, and you can assign where those webhooks go, whether it's to Zapier, to Make.com, to DataX. You send that data out, and then those other services do the different things to automate or store that data. It's a basic explanation is how JobTread connects to Zapier, QuickBooks Online, Gusto, and all the other future integrations. It's the webhook sending data back and forth. So if you're trying to do Make.com or Active Pieces or any other software and you're trying to make that connect, if JobTread doesn't have a native integration, look at webhooks. Maybe they can accept webhooks, so you can build out your own integrations there. Uh, some examples of webhooks: when the document's approved, when the customer's created, when a job's updated, comments created. All of these webhooks are different ways that the data is sent out, or different triggers to send the data out. You can only have a max of 20 webhooks. So we'll talk about ways inside of Zapier and your automations to limit how many webhooks you have to build. And that's when we get to paths. So when we start talking about paths, that's going to help with your webhook count. Automation workflow, you always have a trigger. So just like in JobTread with the customer, you have a trigger, a single trigger, let's say job updated. And then you can have an action, you can have another action. You have multiple actions off of the same trigger. So let's say when job is updated, I want to send a text to Elliott about XYZ, and then I want to create a pamphlet and send to Dominic about XYZ. So you can have two different actions off the same trigger when the job is updated. And then based off those actions, we can have more actions coming off of there. So it's like a tree and it keeps expanding. We can have more actions keep going. We can also trigger new workflows. In Zapier, it's called a sub-zap. So let's say we have the job updated, it does some action and it triggers another thing that goes to like something we just built, like it goes to find the closest hospital and it prints that out in the Google Drive and then saves it as a PDF. So like that's a whole different workflow that it calls after the job's updated. And we also encourage error handling. So if something goes wrong in your automation, you need to know why, and that why will help you fix it. So if it can't find the closest hospital within 5 miles, it'll error handle say, hey, nothing in the 5 miles. So we know, okay, well, we need to expand the search. If the customer's name was spelled incorrectly and it couldn't find a match, that's an error handling thing. So highly encouraged to put some error handling in your automations for some troubleshooting. Okay, more automations. We're gonna have Dominique share his screen. We're gonna look at some basic automations and then go a little bit intermediate.
Okay. One second. So this is the most basic automation I can find. I don't use the JobTread web forms. I like doing a couple more things with the stuff, but basically when somebody fills out my intake form on my website, it goes in JobTread and it creates a new customer unless the customer already exists, new location unless the location already exists, and then adds new job and transfers over some information about that job to JobTread. And then another fairly simple one that's just longer is this runs every day at 7 a.m. as you can see right here, and it notifies it auto closes, sorry. It auto closes any proposals that I have that are over 30 days old. So I have a 14-day turnaround. I let them sit there a little bit longer. Sometimes, people are traveling or whatever it is, and they don't get back to you. And if I don't hear from them by 30 days, I auto close them. There's some other automation that you can run, like, you can automatically reach out to them and things like that. It's basically the same Zap. You would just, run, like, say, at 3 days or 5 days or 7 days and shoot them a little email that's like, hey, we haven't heard from you, or text message or some of those things. And then is this next one the intermediate one? I need to move you guys out of the way. No, that went straight to complex. I think we'll hand it back to you, Elliott.
Okay, great. We got more automation ideas. Here's automation 5. When a job is created, we can create a budget from a template. This is a very common one. We get reached out to help people requesting us to build this. Let's say you have a service job. We have an electrician client who does residential and commercial, and then he also does service. And so if the custom field is service, when the job is created, then we will, when the job is created, if it's service, then a certain budget comes in. It automatically has labor for the guys to clock into, automatically has some material line items so the guys can start job costing and putting their receipts in. Wait, I didn't share my screen again, did I?
No.
Okay. You guys let me talk too long doing that. Okay. So when the job is created, we can create a budget from a template. And like I was saying, if it's a service, let's say electrician, with the job is created, the custom field for a type of job is service, then we upload a specific cost group budget into the template that already has labor items for the technicians to clock into, already has material line items to start putting receipts into job cost automatically there, and it saves a few clicks over several automations a day, over a week, over a month, over a year. saves a lot of time. So that was something that they really, really enjoyed. Automation 6, when a job is created, we can send the client a welcome message. That could be, I prefer it to be through JobTread. We want to try to encourage our clients to use JobTread as the platform. We can attach a pamphlet to the message. So a pamphlet being like something we create in Canva that says like, "Hey, welcome to Built with Love. Here's our core values. Here's the team. Here's the estimator Elliott that you saw the other day. Here's your project manager that's going to be on your job." We can pre-build some canvas in Canva, some templates or some pamphlets, and upload those to the message. And then we can tag the client in the message to make sure they see it. So that's a really, really nice automation at the beginning of a job. And the idea behind all these automations is to get your brains going. So hopefully you've got your notes. I've got my pencil. I'm even taking notes as well. Just write down ideas as you're getting for these automations. Customize them, change them to fit your needs. When a button is clicked, a button could be anything. A button could be in N8N, you do have a button that you can click, and Zapier, you don't have a button. But you could say when a certain button in JobTread is clicked, when a certain button in Google Calendar is clicked, when a certain button in DocuSign is clicked, that could be your trigger. Or you can even schedule it like Dominic talked about earlier. You can say every day at 7 a.m. or every Friday at 5 p.m. We're going to query all of our active jobs. We're going to filter by sold this month. We're going to look at where the sales rep equals Elliott. We're going to total up all those approved budgets, and then we're going to send an email. So this could be like an automated commission email to your salespeople. So as a sales rep, I could get an email every Friday and say, "Hey, here's everything I've sold this month. Here's where your commission stands. Payout is going to be in 2 weeks," or whatever that looks like. You could send out automated emails like this. And now let's talk about the new JobTread feature, Sense Connect dashboards. JobTread dashboards allow you to do these filters and build graphs and charts like this. The automation here specifically that you couldn't do in a dashboard is an email going to the sales rep. Automation number 8. Every day at 5 p.m., we're going to query all the tasks. Dominic, this is your favorite one. We're going to query task. We're going to filter it by vendor so we can look at our drywall trade partners. We can look at our painting trade partners. Maybe we see a structural engineer coming out. And we're going to send reminder text messages to everyone. And Dominic's going to show us some of these in a second, but this one was huge. Dominic, you want to explain your motivation behind this automation?
Yeah. So I had a trade partner whose work I really liked, and I very much wanted to keep working with him, but he worked for several other companies as well, right? Like as many trade partners do, and he would sometimes forget, um, or he would sometimes forget to send the crews to my jobs, which is kind of horrible, but happens when you're one guy running a bunch of people around. So I created a automation that literally runs every day at 5 p.m. that does exactly what Elliott's slide does, and sends everybody who has work tomorrow on the schedule a text message with a little reminder for, hey, you've got, this going on, that going on. Even I get a text message with any sales meetings or site visits that I have scheduled. I've got that one also sending at 7 a.m. in the morning so that I don't forget. But yeah, and it was just created out of necessity because, I get a text from the customer at like 9:30 being like, "Hey, how come your guys aren't here?" And I'd text him and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, they'll be there at 1 o'clock this afternoon." And that's not a real great customer experience. So we don't have that problem anymore. He's
Yeah.
also gotten a lot better about scheduling since then. So
It's all about education too, right? So anything you can do to help educate and train your partners to perform how you want them to perform. Automation is a great way to help with that. So Dominic's going to share a screen again. We're going to get a little bit advanced visually you'll see what some of these advanced automations look like. Let's go ahead and pass it off.
Yeah. Is there a specific one you want to start with?
Let's start with a basic advanced one. Maybe.
Okay, I got a basic advanced one for you right here. Okay. Share my screen. Okay, so I just came up with this idea the other day. I wear a body cam for all of my site visits for a number of different reasons. But one of the chief reasons is for note taking. I know a lot of people use PlodNote or something like that. I find it's helpful to have both the video and the audio together. So like I can talk to myself or to my project manager about a project, and it helps him build the budget and, scope documents and all that stuff. Well, I just upload those as file attachments to the job. And a couple of days ago, I was like, it'd be kind of interesting to create an automation that when you uploaded a file that was either audio or video would transcribe that file and attach it as a custom or as a comment to the file. So here it is. Every time a file is created, I check if it's audio or video. If it's video, this literally just checks if it's video. And then it shoots it over to AI. You could use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you want to do. I just happen to use AI by Zapier because it lets you pick from a bunch of the different AI models out there. And it's conveniently included in the price you're paying for Zapier. And then it just posts the transcript as a comment on the video. Same thing for audio. It's slightly different in how it's extracted, but not significantly, and then just posts the transcript as a comment. Of course, since I created this, I haven't uploaded anything, so I can't show you what it looks like in JobTread. But I will try to get that over to somebody, or I'll post it somewhere at some point. Then the job created one, there's a couple of kind of complex. Here we go. This is a good next level up. Somebody was asking me earlier today on the Zapier chat or something, how to work with the JobTread web forms. I like the JobTread web forms. It's nice because you don't have to use other software. You're not paying extra. But there's flexibility is a little bit limited. So I use a company called JotForm, pretty reasonable. I have a vendor intake form that I send all my trade partners to. And whenever they fill that out and submit it, it checks to see if they exist in the system. If they are in the system, it will update them. It updates their data, whether they've given consent to texting. And if there's a W-9 or a COI attached, it uploads that. If they're not found, it creates a new vendor, right? Update versus create new. Same thing, updates if they allow texting or not. And then if they have a W-9 or a COI, it uploads that and does some other housekeeping in our system. It's the one of the things about automation is you'll quickly notice that you go from this like a single row of things, which does have a filter, right? So this step right here in the middle only continues if a certain thing exists in this case, to the little bit more complex filters where I'm searching for vendors, and then if they're found or not found, this is where paths come in that Elliott had mentioned earlier. And it can sometimes get a little out of hand. This is what it looks like when I create a new job in JobTread. I create a Google Drive folder. If it's selected in the create thing, I pull some Zillow information. I have two-step process for getting a job email address. This is my job phases is how I do the CRM within JobTread. So I have different job phases for as the jobs go through the pipeline. That gets set to a initial value, and a last updated date gets set. Update the cover photo from Google Street View, and then I have some internal housekeeping where I just use tasks to do meta tracking. So like when jobs opened, when I send out proposals, when I send out invoices, when they sign things, all that, I track all that within JobTread using the to-do calendar. And then I think this one, Elliott was talking about sending out like this middle really, really long column. If I could make this bigger and you guys could actually read it. Nope, that didn't help. This says, if job closed the first time, send a survey. So that step actually does most of what Elliott had talked about, where it, and here it's having to find a membership and do task creation and all that, and it sends out an email to the customer in the end.
Dominic, what are some of those other ones for this one, job updated?
For this job updated, so if the job phase is goes from anything prior, if it goes to approved, so if the job gets approved, I
Hey, Dominic, real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry to bother you.
You're
Do you
good.
think you could zoom in on your screen just a little bit? So
Sure.
you can see some of those paths.
Sure, here we go. Okay. So this one, Google has a fancy way of doing SEO where you can create multiple business locations and you create little real-time 3D web beacons. So if somebody searches for your business name, it actually returns results that are physically located closer to them than results that are created away from them. So on this one, whenever a job is approved, I actually go and create a page on my website that is only indexed by Google, that is tied to the location of that job, that has my company's information on it, so that if their neighbors search for our business name or, you know, any remodeling or construction stuff like that, we come up before other companies in the area. Didn't think I'd be talking about that one. On the I have a custom field. Do I want to create a Google Drive? When I create a job, if it's set to yes, it creates a folder and then updates the JobTread with the folder name. This is the job closed first time. If it was previously already closed, we skip it. Otherwise, we have to do some internal housekeeping to update the job. That's what this time find a membership, create a task is all about. Then it updates the job, telling the job in a way that we sent out the email, and it does sends out the email in the end down here. Over here, gonna skip past. This is a part of the getting an email address that is tied to that job, so I can actually forward emails to JobTread and they appear in the job. It's a feature everybody asked about. You can fake it with a little bit of automation trickery. I might do a little bit of a longer talk on that at some point because it's pretty helpful. If the job was created from my intake form, it sends out a follow-up email that just welcomes them, says, hey, if you have any photos or any other information about the job, you know, hit reply to this, and we'll, you know, give us any other information that you have. So our intake form is not crazy long. And then this last one is just whenever the job phase is changed from one value to another, it updates the last time the job phase was updated. So yeah, that's that's one of these. Do you have anything else, Elliott?
Next on the slideshow is to go into the API a little bit.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Let's go back to the slide and talk about it, and then we'll come back to your screen. And we'll go through the API stuff pretty quicker than we did at Connect, just so we can get to some Q&A. I see some questions building up. Yeah, let's go back. Okay, so the JobTread API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a way for you to talk to JobTread and do stuff inside of JobTread with code. And it allows other, you could build code out to talk to several different softwares at once. Softwares can talk to each other. It's a way to use JobTread without the interface of the website. What you're clicking buttons and stuff, you can do stuff with the code to interact with JobTread. So if no one's head's exploded yet, it might when we go for the next through few slides, but we'll go through this fast. It's a little advanced, a little bit heady. To find the API, you're going to go to Settings, Integrations, JobTread API. The card will look something like this. Click on that, and you will have a few different options. You want to go to the Pave Explorer, or the API Explorer link that's there. When you go, it's going to look something like this. You'll have 4 columns. If you don't have 4 columns, if you just saw Dominic's screen for a second before we switched, he has 4 squares. And so if you want columns, which I prefer to work in columns, you just zoom out on your screen and you'll get the columns. If you want the squares, zoom in and you get the squares. The left side, this is going to talk about, this is like our documentation. It's pretty basic, pretty simple, but there's some examples here. You can scroll down and it'll show you some examples how to use the API, how to find your organization ID and stuff like that. Next is the schema, which is all the nodes inside of JobTread with all the data points. It's everything inside of JobTread, anything you could query and find about. But you're going to use these data points to build a query in this third column. So you can see right here, I've got a cost code or a cost group. We're looking at an ID. This is actually a cost group. If you're looking at a cost group ID, you're looking at a cost group template, most likely. I'm pulling the ID, the name, the descendant cost items in this cost group template. From those cost items, I'm looking at their ID, their name, the cost, unit price, looking at the cost code, cost group, and cost type. So I'm pulling out important information that I need. And then in this fourth column, you see the results. So these are all the cost items in this cost group template based on that ID from here at the top. And based on all this information, I know with this one specifically, I was taking all this info and pushing it into a job. So I built this I use this query when I'm building a job created, push this cost group template into the budget. But you're going to look through here, the schema to find the different nodes and the different data points inside a JobTread that you can use to write your queries here, to see your results here. The API in that middle part, the schema part, third column, you notice there's checkboxes. If you type the word root in there, you will get checkboxes that help you build the query in the third column a little bit easier. So schema in the second column. Type in root, click the checkboxes, and it helps you build the query in the third column. There are 2 different languages you can use to build your query. One is JSON, one is YAML. I prefer JSON. Dominic prefers YAML. JSON is curly bracket and quotations based. YAML is spacing and tab indentions based. You can see here, I've got my item 1 with a value of 1, comma. Item 2 with a curly bracket, so I can build out nested items inside of item 2. So item 2 could be like descendant cost items, and then I could see my ID or my name or different things like that. And we close it out with more curly brackets. Dominic, you ready to show some sandbox? Maybe show us what YAML looks like, just because it's less messy.
Yeah. So as Elliott said, so this is the JSON view. This is what my screen looks like. if you want to get Elliott's, this is probably going to mess people up. You can make it wider and then it becomes columns, just like you said. It just so happened to be that this is the preferred size of my screen. This is the JSON view that Elliott talked about. I like working in YAML because it's a little bit easier for my brain to create the query like this. And then if I need it in, say, Zapier or something like that, I can just click this button down here and it converts it. And I can cut and paste, drop this in there. And that's pretty great. This is actually a fairly simple query. I'm working on building a chat GPT model that lets me use just natural language, asking it to create me a query for JobTread and then spit it out. And I happened to do that right here. Build me a query that pulls jobs and job documents for a given job with ID job ID. So here's the YAML version. I actually need to take out these comments, and here's the JSON version. And if you compare the JSON version with this right here, we'll make these two top ones go away. This looks exactly the same. And then I hit run over here on my Sandbox account, and it pulls all of the documents, or 10 of them, I believe, gives me the full name and the status and the ID. If I can convert this to YAML, and it's a little bit easier to scroll through. Yeah, it's 10 of them. What else were we talking about? If anybody wants,
we weren't gonna go too deep in that. If you guys have questions, jump in the Facebook group chat for API. We're hanging out in there all the time. There's a bunch of other smart people in there that can help as well. And there is Nathaniel is a JobTread employee who hangs out in there and helps answer those questions too. But the reason we talked about the API is because there's a lot of automations that you cannot build inside of Zapier or
you're not sharing your screen, by the way, if you meant to.
yeah, not yet. Thanks for calling me out on it though. I just wanted to see my face for a little bit. There is some advanced stuff that you can't build with the native JobTread without using the API. The API allows you to get those data points that you can't pull out of Zapier natively, or it helps you do more advanced things. One thing I was working on before this webinar was comparing cost codes, cost types, cost items of what I have set in my JobTread versus my Xactimate CSV coming in. So trying to import an Xactimate and doing that with the API, I can do it a little bit faster, and I can save templates. But again, the API just allows you to do a little bit more advanced stuff. So the reason we brought that up is just because the next few automations we're trying to just give you ideas. So these next few automations are a little bit more advanced. So automation 9, we're going to query jobs. We're going to filter by close this quarter. Again, going back to JobTread features, they've built out the dashboards to do a bunch of this stuff now. So you could build a chart or a report that shows you this really easily. But if you wanted to do this and maybe send emails based on this, or send commission checks, or tell your vendors, hey, good job, thanks for working with us for X amount of the value this quarter, you could automate some of that using API. Automation, create a comment thread. We're going to make the subject line for comms thread for this comment thread. Anytime we have an inbound text or phone call, we're going to grab that, let's say with open phone, we're going to create a comment inside that comms thread message thread. Anytime we have an outbound text or phone call, we're going to create a comment on that comms thread. And this is a way to track all your communication, whether it's open phone or dial pad or any of the other ones. This is a great automation to keep all of your comms inside of JobTread for history. So if your field crew or lead carpenter doesn't have an open phone, there's no reason they should have an open phone account. But if they need to know what the client is talking about, they can go and check the comms thread. You can pin this now at the top of the job or at the top of the customer, and they have access to all of the context for the job and communication. That could be really, really helpful. Plug. since, so we wrote this and we did this talk in January. Since then, we've built this automation out inside of DataX for OpenPhone and DialPad. DialPad will be out by the end of the week. OpenPhone's been out for about a month. So you can now log into DataX, click a few buttons, and it does this automation for your OpenPhone or DialPad automatically. And you don't have to build it and waste lots of hours banging your head against a keyboard. Okay, next automation, 11. Every Friday at 5 p.m., we're going to look at all of our open POs. So this might be geared more towards companies who have a lot of POs, and it takes 7 to 10 button clicks to do some of these tasks. So if we're saving 7 button clicks times 100 POs a week, that's a lot of time. We're going to take all these open POs and we're going to approve all of them, and then we're going to create drafts. It could be a draft bill off of each PO. Again, this takes probably 7 to 10 button clicks per PO. So we're essentially automating a mass action on all open POs. So we can look for open POs. We're going to approve the PO so that the trade partner knows they're getting paid for submitting their work for the week. And then we're going to create a draft bill so our internal bookkeeper knows that we can go ahead and invoice and send a check. We built this automation out for a client recently. They do about 100 POs every 2 weeks, and is reportedly saved this client. The bookkeeper alone has saved 10 to 20 hours per week just from this automation. So that adds up over 52 weeks, a lot of money. So that's very, very cool. Glad when automations help out like that. And now she has more free time to do other things that are important in the business too, right? So we're not thinking about automation. Oh no, we're losing jobs. Automation, automate the stuff that's mundane so you can, use your brain power for the more fun stuff, for the stuff that really matters.
Yeah, one of the things that I said early on in our Connect presentation was if you're doing the same thing more than 3 times, then that process should be eligible to automate because you're just, I mean, and with the seven to however many button clicks, I mean that's definitely a candidate even if you're just doing it like twice a week. Like it just it saves you time. And that's the
It's
goal.
It also, Dominic, you and I were texting about this 2 nights ago. It also doing automations like this also keeps you consistent, right? You
Mm.
don't want edge cases where it's like, hey, sometimes we run documents this way, or sometimes we do this process in JobTread XYZ, but on this edge case we're going to do ABC, and on this edge case we're going to do element OP. It's like, no, we always do it XYZ. And so
Yeah.
automating some of this forces you to have consistency in your business, ultimately freeing up brain power to do other things that are more important. Okay, next automation. When a job is created, we're going to find a Google Street View image of that job. We're going to add that Street View as your job cover photo. So when the job's created, we're going to take Google Street View, add that as your job cover photo. This was one of the first automations we built after the JobTread team kind of blessed us to go off and try to build DataX automation company. This is one of the first automations we built. We use it for all of our jobs. Me, Dominic, and Peter all built this separately, and we're like, hey, let's just combine and build it for our own jobs. So every time you create a job, if you're a DataX member, you just turn on a button, and I know a lot of you guys in here are DataX members, and you get a beautiful street view every time you create a job. How cool. Integration ideas. Dominic, do you have any more thoughts on automations before we go into just the different ways to automate? I didn't know if you
Not off the
had
top.
green
I,
thoughts.
I probably should, and if we were on stage in front of 350 people, I probably would, but right now I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, let's go through
Uh,
the integration ideas. We only have 4 minutes left, so we'll try to get all. We've got some Q&A we got to answer. So integration ideas, you can use OpenPhone dial pad. Like I said, DataX has some of that already built out for you, so you don't have to bang your head against a keyboard. Email softwares, think of the Gmail, Microsoft Outlook. How can we automate emails in and out? the entire Google App Suite. You think of slideshows, you can automate slideshows, you can automate Google Documents, you can automate spreadsheets. Go high level, HubSpot, MailChimp, ConvertKit. Loop is a JobTread partner, and they are a Go high level wrapper. So if you want to use Go high level, and I think Go high level is actually working with JobTread to build a native integration. But if you wanted that earlier, you could try Loop. They are a Go high level wrapper. Calendly, DocuSign. Think about how you can use Calendly and DocuSign to put into an automation your workflow somehow. Trello, Asana, Monday. I'm going to keep these on the list until we get tasking to do Kanban and custom views. Until then, we have to keep using Trello and Asana and Monday.com to manage some of those other things. And think about how you could use like Monday.com when a certain custom field is set to done. What does that do inside of JobTread, or vice versa? Discord, WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack is a communication app that JobTread has a native integration with. Some other ones are Discord and WhatsApp and Telegram. Those aren't native integrations, so you have to build those. I use Discord personally, so we could say every time a job is approved, we get a little message inside of Discord, which is awesome. Something else you could do based on the reaction to certain messages. Let's say we're just having a conversation, me and Dominic inside of Discord. If I heart emoji one of Dominic's messages, maybe that saves it to a job in JobTread, or it sends him an email saying, "Hey, I appreciate your comment." Different automations like that. And then, as always, AI. AI is a hot word right now. It's growing exponentially, so that's going to be an endless possibility of how you can integrate JobTread automation workflow with AI. A few minutes left. Casey, if you want to come back and let's take some Q&A.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's a lot of great information. I feel like we have uh, maybe done you a disservice to call you nerds. I feel like we need to redeem that term. I think you guys are really doing some smart work, some really good work that's helping a lot of people. So first of all, I wanted to do this. So we're going to get to the Q&A stuff, but I did want to make sure while we have sort of the bulk of our audience still available, can you show us, one of you guys on your screen, how would we navigate over to DataX, and what would be the sort of process for people to get in touch with you, to kind of start asking you for questions if they did have specific queries or help, or how could they become members? Yeah, do you want to kind of walk us through that?
I got it. So the website is winyourdata.com. I happen to be logged into mine. All right, so here's the overview. You can sign up for free. We have a whole bunch of offerings that are free, and then there's a paid tier that you can also get when you sign in. We have a library that has a lot of dashboards that Elliott, several people have created them. Elliott, Peter, I think I have Paul Coleridge, a couple of JobTread users, Lisa Anderson. We have cost group templates, and we have schedule templates, and this is all free. This will always be free. It's kind of community built, so people can contribute to all that. We have our toolbox. This is where we have the Zillow integration that Elliott briefly talked about. Also the Google cover photo, the open phone integration, and right next to this soon, there will be a dialpad integration. We also, yeah. But yeah, you just go to winyourdata.com and you can sign up from there.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that people, if they had real specific questions about things that they wanted help building, that they'd know where to go and kind of what everything looked like as they navigated around. So, all right, well, we're going to jump into the questions. Again, thank you everybody for popping those questions over into the Q&A. We'll start with one from Sonia. She actually asked, this is more of about your presentation. Is there a place or a way, maybe even as we post this up tomorrow, in the Facebook group, where they could access some of the slides that you guys put up for your presentation, maybe even some of the flow, I guess, they might be asking about?
Casey, I sent you a link to the spreadsheet or to the PowerPoint. If you just want to share that link with them.
Yeah.
Totally
Did
fine.
you just send me that over my email?
In your email.
Yeah, let me get to that, and then we will do that. That's a great. Okay, awesome. Well, then let me go ahead and pop into the next question. Um, Sehana, I think I'm saying that name right. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize if I am. She said, or he, excuse me there, I really need an automation to send clients reminders that they have an invoice to pay. Can you give us an example of that and how to create that? And then Ron, kind of qualified his own bit of that and said, yeah, proposals as well.
That would need to be kind of like one of Dominique's examples where it's like every day you need to run an automation that checks for proposals that are pending. And that's the easy way to do it. You don't want to run delays. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to delay until this proposal changes from draft to pending or from pending to approved, you just want to say every day I want to run an automation that checks for all pending invoices to pay. And then on the JobTread invoice, you have a due date at the top right of the invoice. So you could say, hey, let's pull a list of all automations, or sorry, put automation of all invoices where the due date is past, where today is greater than the due date, and then let's send a follow-up text, and then automatically send a text to those people. That's how I would do that. Same thing for proposal, what Ron was saying. Every day, look for proposals, whether pending, look at the due date, look at the issue date, do your 30, 90, 60 days past whatever you want, and then
Yep.
do your follow up off of there.
Nice. Okay. Michael asked, when doing leads, he says that we have several salespeople that we manually assign leads to based on who got the last one. So I guess sequentially assigning different jobs to, or maybe different leads to different salespeople. And also if it's a certain type of a job. So I guess sort of a secondary, filter of how to assign those jobs. And it always goes to the specific person. Is there a way to automate that part? I guess based on sequential order and then types of jobs.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a really good use case for automation. It is something that you can automate. It's not horribly complex. Probably the hardest part is coming up with the order you want the jobs to be doled out in, right? Like I'm assuming what you're actually talking about is like a typical round robin where like, everybody, like the next person gets the next one, et cetera, except if it's like roofing, then it always goes to Jay or something like that. And that is actually a perfect use case for automation. I believe that is something you could do with Zapier.
Mhm.
Um, it would look kind of like some of my spaghetti zaps, but certainly doable.
I
If
would
they wanted help building that out, would you think reaching out to you would be a good place to start?
Yeah, yeah,
I would
something
even
to
I would
help
even
them out.
say use like a spreadsheet to keep track of. Like every time you create a new job, it says, hey, this is who it was automated to. So you don't have to ping JobTread to figure out who got the last job. You kind of keep it in like a Zapier table or something separate.
Sure.
And at the end, or even while we ask these questions, if you guys want to pop your emails in there, if you guys are interested in having a bunch of people email you, you can do that. And then if they have follow up, or if you want them to just maybe query you guys on your website too, winyourdata.com, if that's the best place. You got
I'll post the little contact landing page we have.
perfect, perfect. Okay, awesome. Okay, Dylan Tafoya asked, can you talk about scrapping data from places like, or scraping data from places like Google Street View and how that's configured?
We're actually not scraping data, Dylan. We're actually using the Google API to pull in that data. So Google's API is massive. There's a lot of data points you can pull in. You can look for places, like that's how we do the hospital example I talked about earlier. We're looking at places that sound like hospital, and you have to do some filtering from there. We're looking at, the Google Street View is an API. You just send it the address, but the Google API does cost money. So if you're using other APIs, you could look at also Rapid API. There's a bunch of different data points on there for other different APIs and services you could look at. But yeah, we're not scraping data. We're using API.
This person was not so bold to put their name. So anonymous attendee, very spooky, said, what backend platform are you guys using that integrates through Zapier for these automations? Is it Go High Level?
So we are actually just back-ended into JobTread. Like it's, we do a lot of automation stuff that pulls data from non-JobTread locations, but all, at least for me, and I believe for Elliott and Peter as well, the central data store, what you call the authoritative source, is JobTread. Whether that's DataX, Eidson Builders, Build with Love, or Randy Blair, whatever Peter's called, whichever one of Peter's, both of them, I guess. And we even, I mean, one of yeah. So it's all back ended into JobTread. There's nothing outside. You can integrate with Go High Level or HubSpot or any other CRM, but we don't. We just use JobTread as the CRM.
But I would even say Go High Level is your automation platform at that point for most things.
Yeah.
For the marketing and outbound and sales, Go High Level has internal automations already, so you won't need Zapier unless it's other stuff.
Marty, more of a comment, but he did put it in the Q&A. He said, "Is there a boot camp we can volunteer for with this team as the drill instructors? We could go from novice to pro in a matter of weeks, or a monastery. Pick your theme." So I feel like you guys have maybe that's the next tier of training, is you guys just have a live-in group that you filter in every so often.
I mean, I like the monastery theme more so than the boot camp, but
Definitely different vibes, right? You've got the quiet vibe, and then you've got the very loud and obnoxious vibe. So it's sort of a pick your poison.
I guess I'm the boot camp kind of person. Then I'm too much of a Gen Xer for.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Alex Monson asked, so this is a question I could help, but I'll let you guys interest. Can you import external proposals? And I assume they're talking about cost groups, cost items, and things like that into JobTread.
Yeah, JobTread has a built-in tool already. If you go to the budget tab, go to jobs, budget tab, and then there's an import button on the right side. It's one of the arrow ups or arrow downs. You can import any type of CSV file from any other software into the budget already.
Yeah. So if you need help with that too, we have training. I'll pop the link over in the chat for you too. But I was curious to see how you guys are, if you had like some other way that you went about doing that too.
Well, I'm almost done with it. We'll have an importer inside of DataX where you can like save your different configurations. So instead of having to do all the matching every time, you can just do it once and
Yeah,
save it. And
I like that.
it should be done this week.
Let me go ahead and pop that into the chat, and then I'll get over there. Okay, so we've had a couple more questions come in. Dylan, again, he said, "Can you email me how to change a deal status or a custom field when a customer signs an invoice?" That's a pretty basic one that I think you guys have. Is that on your site currently?
No, so we've foregone building out internal JobTread automations, waiting to see what the JobTread automation feature release will look like. I've been told
Yeah.
it would be in a few weeks from some people. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yeah, so for anybody that's curious what he's talking about, so we have what we call workflows that are going to be put into motion. And so yes, they could have had a solution, but we will have an internal solution for something like that, where you'll be able to utilize some basic internal JobTread automations. We call them, again, workflows. So we're still working out some of the ways that we want those to work, just to make sure that they work really well before we roll them out. But yeah, those are coming too. And then obviously DataX will be a great partner moving forward. My account rep said 6 weeks. I think to give any definitive timeline would just be just kind of throwing stuff against the wall and seeing if it sticks. So I think sometimes it happens way sooner. I've been here long enough to know that things that I thought were months in the future happen way quicker. And then some things that we thought were more near, took a little bit more time. But very rarely has something taken too much more time than anticipated. So yeah, just keep checking out, Dylan. All right. So we've also got a question. Okay. So Mahich, I think, unless it's Magic, which it could be if it was very, very obviously pronounced the way that it's spelled. We are very high value, low volume builder in SFL, South Florida, I think. I don't really have an application for automation and managing a large volume of lead sales, customers, et cetera. I'm looking for a way to create a vendor specific SOV for each of our vendors to use when submitting their vendor bills for a specific pay app period. Want to automate a mechanism to update the Excel forms after each submission so that the form always reflects the most current information and captures paid and stored. Any guidance that you can provide? That may be a separate conversation, but if you have an idea now.
I mean, if you could do it, it's somewhat outside of the scope for this presentation, just the complexity of it. You know, I would say
Go back to that form that Dom put in the that Dominic
Yeah.
put in the webinar chat.
go to the contact form, you know, submit your information, all that, and we can have a chat about it.
I'll copy it again and post it in there so that it's the most recent thing in there. Yeah, and then Anne asked, did you say that the PowerPoint? Okay, sorry, yeah. So I put the PowerPoint file in the chat. If you go back up, you'll see it. It should
She
be.
said she can't download it from the chat.
You can open the file if you click on it. If you double click on it, it should open. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and pop it into a comment on the Facebook group. And if you want me, if that's an easier way to do that too. And then for anybody else who wants to get it, who's having trouble getting it off of the chat box, I'll put it in the Facebook group as well. What I'll do, Dylan and Ann, is whenever I post their presentation, probably tomorrow, I'll go ahead and put it in the comments. If you look in the comments, I'll post it up there. So, all right. Does anybody have any last minute buzzer beater questions before we get these guys out of here? Thank you guys so much for your time. I know, you know, we started a little bit late because I was yapping, trying to make sure everybody knew who you guys were. But what brand of chair is Elliott using? Oh man, ACK Racing. Is that a
Racing?
ACK Racing?
Yeah, AK Racing.
That's awesome. Is that like a gaming chair, or is it? Are you a big gamer?
I actually don't game anymore. You know, I work 86 hours a day, so I just needed something comfy to sit in.
All right. Well, the math isn't mathing there, but we'll let it slide. Anyway, hey, thank you guys so much. And again, I just want to say that what makes this community so valuable is how much each person is willing to give. And so go and check out the chats that they talked about. If you're looking for, what was it, the Zapier training, or was it automations training in the Facebook group? Is that what you guys are talking about?
No. Here, I'll pull it up. Let me look.
Yeah, pop the link over there if you have it handy so that people can jump in there if they're interested in being a part of that conversation.
Yeah, it's the community chat. So we have an API integration community chat and a Zapier community chat.
And those are both JobTread.
Yeah, in the JobTread
created
Facebook group.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys go and check it out, and make sure that you're in those conversations. I mean, the one thing that I'll say, having been here since January, is that there is a wide range of skill sets. There's a wide range of understanding. Some people are come from coding backgrounds and they understand some of the back end things when it comes to JobTread, which is a software. And then some people are really great at being, you know, highly, you know, skilled tradesmen and craftspeople. Like they're not into the software part. And so no question's a dumb question. Just ask your questions. If you have thoughts, if you have questions, let people help you out. And also, I will just go ahead and throw this out there. If you're in that chat and someone asks a question that you think seems obvious, be kind and gentle with how you answer their question, because not everybody has the knowledge that they have until they have it, right? Okay, so anyway, Elliott, I want to thank you. Dominic, I want to thank you guys both for being willing to represent, for sharing with the broader community. You guys have been a huge resource and continue to be. We're excited for all that people can learn, can gain from you to make JobTread, again, a place that helps you kind of keep everything, you know, in one spot, even if we're having to pull in from other places with our automations and integrations and stuff. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Thank you for your time. Do you guys have anything else you want to throw out before we get you guys out of here?
No, I think we're good. Thanks for having us as always.
Yeah.
We like to learn on Facebook, so reach out.
Yeah, go check out the Facebook group. And everybody, we will see you in 2 weeks when we jump back into the Pro Spotlight. I'll put all the information about that as we get there. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us, Elliott and Dominic. And thanks everybody for joining us here for the Pro Spotlight. We will have this up for everybody to be able to watch on our help desk, on a YouTube channel, and I'll make sure to post that YouTube link into the Facebook chat tomorrow so that we can all watch it again. And we will see you guys next time. Again, thanks everybody. Have a great day.